Are we ready to go? I think this will be a totally other presentation than the other presentations you will hear today. Welcome to spend half an hour with Region Stockholm. And our headline is Balancing Act for MDM Implementation Strategy, Improving Legacies versus Establishing MDM. What do we mean with that? My name is Malin Sundeby, and this is
Katja Leppälä, and welcome also on my behalf.
Okay, we have a story. That this might be, for us now, it's kind of the story of our lives. But we are working heavily on establishing master data management in Region Stockholm. And today we will talk about, okay, what is Region Stockholm? And then beginning of the end, what are we actually trying to achieve? Our problem statement. And then quite early we have this disclosure that we need to help ourselves before helping others. And it will be interesting to hear about that. And then come close to the more real master data management subjects like master data quality, our data-driven approach, our balancing act, and the next steps.
Yes.
Are we ready to go?
Yes, we are.
Oh, it's me again?
Yeah.
Region Stockholm at a glance, in brief. Maybe it's most important to understand first that this is the public sector, which means a lot of things, but foremost that the organization is politically driven. Every day around the clock is Region Stockholm responsible for healthcare and public transportation. These are the largest part of Region Stockholm. And also regional development and contributing to the cultural life of the county. And what is Region Stockholm then in some kind of numbers? It is 45,000 employees, which means it's the largest employer in Sweden. We have around 2,000 IT systems in our organization. There are living 2.3 million inhabitants in Sweden. No, not in Sweden. Oh, in Sweden too, but in Stockholm region, Region Stockholm. Plus that we have millions of tourists visiting every year. All of them are making 800,000 daily journeys and 18 million healthcare visits yearly. To add an extra flavor to that, 35% of the healthcare expenses are actually healthcare offered by private companies
That work for the contract of Region Stockholm. So our healthcare is operated not by only our public organization, but together with these private sector companies, which makes our ecosystems quite complex.
Yeah, and this is to bear in mind when we come to the problem statement and how we are supposed to solve this problem.
So this leads us to what is then going on at Region Stockholm. What have the politicians decided that we should do? So, not surprisingly, digitalization is the word of the day. So we need to also digitalize our operations, our services, and target towards the modern future, so to say. And one of the most important initiatives then within this digitalization journey is a future health information environment. So that means that we are renewing our information systems and our processes that we need in order to operate our healthcare in this complex environment together with our private caretakers. And
caregivers.
Yes, and we have wise decision makers. They have said that this digitalization should happen not only through technical solutions, but also by ensuring that we have shared information. And that brings us to our problem statement.
Okay. Our problem statement. Okay, first though, we are supposed to implement master data management. The assignment that I got was, okay, we want to have quality ensure master data for entire Region Stockholm, all across the different business areas. Available through modern service architecture and support health information environment of the future by 2022. Okay, and for me, all this already is a balancing act, how to, with limited time and resources, do this massive scope. And then what is our master data? We have this leading sentence that is coming through the whole time, and that is, who is doing what and where are they doing it? And together with that, and why we are focusing so much to healthcare is that we also had another sentence that is important in Region Stockholm, and that is, we should provide the right care at the right place at the right time. And that gives us these master data entities. It's person, and this organization, and then the what is services and goods, and where is places. And then one more extra that is very important for us, we need to have track on the agreements, because there are 4,000 caregivers out there. And okay, then we're sitting there, me and Katja, okay, what is then the implementation strategy? Because we need to plan our master data in a way that can support all future scenarios, regardless of tools and interfaces. We don't know. We know that the future need us, but we don't know what the future need.
Or the technological solutions that we'll have in place, even by 2022, which was our timeline.
Yeah, so how to deliver quality master data with then minimum impact to existing systems, but maximum impact to existing old data and quality, and of course creation of new data.
So we've decided that we'll have to help ourselves before helping others. So what this means for us is that in order to give these nice, fancy, modern digital services to our patients and travelers and so on, to give ourselves digital work environment, working in Region Stockholm, and to be able to exchange this information with our stakeholders, partners, subcontractors, and so on and so on. So we need to really help ourselves first before we can help the audience and our customers and co-partners, like said. So we need to fix our data, and the assignment given to us was fix the master data. So we need to then guarantee that also the organization understands that master data can't possibly solve all the data-related issues. So therefore, we also will be very heavily emphasizing that we will take care of master data. We will also have to put a lot of emphasis to reference data. And metadata is something that we'll need a lot. But then the important thing is that we'll get all the business processes, new solutions, all the business areas to infuse the master data into their operations, so that the future transactional data, big data, whatever clever data is built on top of this master data, and not just something that exists already today.
And why are we talking so much about the reference data? I don't really need to explain this picture for you, the master data, reference data, and metadata. But I want to emphasize that healthcare uses a particular high degree of reference data. And it's because it's very data intensive. We have a high degree of reporting to authorities, and also we need to create research data for future happiness or
Progress.
and it's a mixture of national codes, international code, and they don't always comply with each other. It's not easy to make the reference data in accurate.
Yes. So that's a true challenge for us.
And then not to mention also we always have to keep in mind the patient security.
Yes.
And our target is to have synchronized copies across the organization, and we need to have data governance. That's our target. And coming back to our headline, like the balancing act for MDM implementation strategy, improving legacies versus establishing MDM. And for us, really, we want to have the synchronized copies across the organization, and we need master data governance. And it doesn't matter how we get there. It's that what we need. And then we have to dig down in our data.
And the fact is that out of these 2,000 IT systems that we have today, most of them will still be around once we've completed our MDM establishing journey. So we need to figure out the way how we implement master data, also looking a lot into the legacies. So where are we then? What is our baseline? So we have done initial analysis of our situation, of course, in order to base our strategy to something concrete. And the fact is that we don't have enterprise master data at Region Stockholm. Punkt. It might sound very hard and
it's okay.
It's okay, because the truth is...
because we also need a challenge.
Yes, and the fact is that every day we are running our operations. We are taking care of our patients as of today. We are able to run our traffic services and so on and so on. But we do this with incompatible master data. We do this by sharing the data with many manual processes, tricks and gigs and mappings and this and that. So we don't really have that. And moreover, we don't seem to have a common understanding. What are our core business entities? We are at that stage. So the list of our challenges related to master data, which we obviously need to know, are perhaps not the typical ones that we would have loads of duplicated information. That's maybe true for some areas, but not for most of them. It's not also a problem that we don't share and reuse the information. We do, but like I said, with very complicated ways and not that accurate ways. So our
could you say that we kind of love manual integration?
Yeah.
Because also it comes also with the area we are working with. We are used to taking care of things. We're taking care of people, we're taking care of the data, and then we want to touch it.
Yeah.
So we have to do it in another way.
Yes. So our target is then to have such quality ensured master data that ensures the semantic consistency. We know when somebody says patient, what does he mean? Sounds trivial, but it's not. We want to have compatible data. So we want to make sure that when we exchange information, we know that we are exchanging data about the same core business object and not something different or overlapping. And we need our data to be accurate, and it has to be up to date. So that is one of our challenges as well. We are very good in creating data, but like typical, we forget sometimes to take care of it afterwards. And governance, of course, we don't have enterprise level governance over our data, and let alone the master data. So this is where we are.
So then coming to our data-driven approach. As you can see here are the components for our implementation strategy is to work with master data governance, master data models and standards, and master data and data quality. That's the core in our implementation strategy. And it's just easy, it's simple to say, but it's so true that without master data being reused, it doesn't really add value. But if the data isn't correct, it doesn't add any value for us either. So we want to identify our master data and model it right. We want to correct the data we already have, and maybe most important, we want to change people's ways of working with data. We have to work with the people.
So in one of the previous presentations by Tetra Pak, it was said this sentence that was stolen from SAP, that we want to clean the data and keep it clean. So that is exactly what we need to do. And in this implementation strategy, so now we are saying that we'll improve legacies, we'll work with the people that are already today working with the data. So that is our strategy for starting to implement master data. So actually what we want to do is to establish the baseline for our master data content, because we believe that if we do that first, then it's easier to bring in these good MDM solutions and start pulling data together into one place. But if we now try to pull data that is not compatible at any level together, a chaos will follow, and it will still take time to try to clean and correct our data. So typically with the implementation strategy, then you'll get to these implementation styles. Will you do a registry, a consolidation, or coexistence, or centralized style? So our target is definitely to go for a centralized model. We have to. Our data has to be in sync every day, every minute, every point of the day. So we can't afford to have a system where the data is not in sync. And in these implementation styles, basically in registry and consolidation, the data is not in sync. It's not the same across the systems. We're just pouring it into this repository, and in that repository making some kind of consolidated view. But that's not what we want. So in order to get to that centralized picture, by improving legacies, what we want to do is to actually use our current technologies at the house, our clever people, and build some kind of registry/dashboard, but not to start reusing that consolidated view, but to build visibility to our data, to really work with the data, to understand it, to model it, to define it. So that's what we want to do. And then if we manage to fix the data and the data quality, we can easily move fast to the centralized modern solution of MDM. And this gives us time to work with the data, work with the people, work with the processes, start establishing the governance together with them, while preparing perhaps the architectural and technical landscape. And also in terms of governance, we could establish the governance body immediately, start building policies and so on and so on. But we want to engage the people who are already today working with the data, and together with them draft the policies, the rules. And then when we have the governance in place, they have actually something concrete to decide upon. Because we don't think that if we just put together the governance, but they don't have nothing that they could actually take actions upon, it will not fly. So we want to give them things and issues to decide and solve, and then we want to implement those. So we'll look last few examples.
But Katja, can you promise that we will be at the centralized by 2022?
No, I can't. No. But let's, yeah.
We know how we want to do it. Now we're just going to do it.
Yes.
We have a few illustrative examples of our data. This is an example of matching and linking master data from different sources. Not to go very much into detail, but you can see 4 different systems here. It's an identifier and a name for all these systems. And looking quickly, you can see, okay, it's not the same number of rows per system. So, okay, there should, with this kind of identifier, it should only be 1 row per system, and it should be also consistent, but this is not. And this really doesn't reflect which data is the correct data.
Or what data we are looking at.
No. And me knowing this organization a little bit further is like, okay, we really need to do this dashboard. We have to look at this, because pouring all our data into the same repository, it won't help us because we can't identify our data. So we need to have the dashboard to be able to improve the data quality in our legacies, but also to identify why is it like in the system D, why is there so many different organizations with the same identifier?
And even seems to be people there and all
and
kinds of weird stuff.
And then we know and we think that we need to use metadata more to understand and to be able to separate.
And to do this in legacies, because like said, we will have to work with the legacies. And we know that it's very difficult to change the data models in the legacy systems, especially if they are purchased solutions. So we hope that still with the help of metadata, some tricks and gigs, we can start separating that what we see here and what we should match with each other is different things. So instead of just matching 1 row from the D to A, B, and C, and throwing the rest of the rows from the D away, we will save them and we understand that what they are and how they are related to the other data.
Yeah.
Another example
is this. And what is this? This is a glance at some reference data we have. What we have here on this side, it's the right side for you. It's a list, and this list is here, 20 rows. It's in our data, it's thousands of them. And it is roles in healthcare. And the first one is say anestesi, läkare, dagakut. Okay, so when you're supposed to maybe send a patient to another doctor or something else, then you're supposed to choose from this list. And it's impossible to search in this list. And what we need, and it's actually, when you look at it more directly, and you see that, okay, this is different things. It is occupation, shift, specialty, and department. And that is the thing, again, we need to clean our data. We need to have only in every reference data set they only need to be 1 meaning of the data. And we need to be able to combine different reference data sets and not having them in the same lists or same database.
So we are running out of our time.
Not really.
Yeah.
No. We have plenty of time.
Okay, sorry. My clock is not in the astronomical time. Anyhow, so what our story has tried to tell you today is that our MDM implementation strategy is to go first with the legacies, and especially with the legacy data. So it's a balancing act for us trying to improve the data quality, keep it improved, introducing the data governance to help in this task, trying to standardize our data as much as possible, and then use the correct combination of a implementation style. And again, starting from very, very basic sort of dashboard to give us visibility so that we know that what do we actually need to then build in towards this brighter future.
Yes. And first, you probably understand during this presentation that we are early on our journey to implement master data management. But we have many successes, but one big success that we have convinced our managers to hire master data managers, to hire people that will keep on working with the master data when the program and we are gone from this work. So we have some consistency in our work, and it feels very good. And it's that was a key point for us to come further. And we are not going to do this as a waterfall thingy, and we're going to start with one master data domain. And the first master data domain is person. And we are going to keep always, and we have learned a lot, we are both new to healthcare, that special attention to reference data and metadata is very important for us. And we let the data lead our way. And do you do that? We don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.